How does the average person become rich, Humphrey?
How does the average person become rich? It's really just a combination of making an income, right? You got to make your income, and hopefully you're increasing that income over time, like we talk about, and then having good defense. So I always like to say defense is like knowing what you spend, knowing what the categories you spend money on are, and then figuring out if you're spending too much in those categories and making sure that the delta between your offense, your income, and your defense are big enough, right? And then with that delta, you're saving and investing, hopefully in the stock market or something that appreciates and scales over time. So typically index funds that track the market, right?
Right. And how much should you save to become rich? Because us growing up Asian American, right? It's like your parents want you to save everything, actually.
Yeah. I mean, my dad famously would tell me that he tried to save, out of every $10 he made, he would try to save 9 of them, which is insane. You can't do that in this day and age. There's no way. But that was his like intention. But these days, I think if you want to become a millionaire as quickly as possible, I would try to strive for 20% of your paycheck. But that's going to be really hard for most people too. So the recommendation is typically 10 to 15% is a really good gauge, and that includes like something like a 401k match, right? So like if you're saving 8% and your match is 8% as well, or 6% and 6% is usually the more typical breakdown. That would be 12%. So try to get in the 15 to 20% range, and you're likely going to be more comfortable than most people.
And when I say Asian save, it's actually, so Asian save is actually cash in the bank, not like investing. You're talking about actually being invested, right?
Yes. So I think there is a distinction that we have to make. In typical Asian culture, if you're saving, you're just literally taking cash, you're putting it under your mattress, or you're putting it in a bank account, earning a little bit of interest, hopefully. But in the way that I'm saying saving, I'm also talking about investing that money. And so you should still have your emergency funds, any funds that you need just for short-term needs, but then the rest should be invested.
How big should your emergency fund be?
I like 6 to 12 months, and I'm more risk averse and conservative when it comes to emergencies. So I like 6 to 12 months of expenses saved up, but the typical recommendation is 3 months, 3 to 6.
Yeah.
And then if you follow like Dave Ramsey, it'll be like, let's get you to $1,000 as quickly as possible. And his philosophy is like, if you get to $1,000, like especially if you're struggling with money, if you get to $1,000, that's like a really big psychological barrier, right? Like you get to 4 digits, and then that kind of motivates you to start saving more and more. So his goal is like, the first step is 1,000. So I also identify with that too. But I think that if you're doing slightly well in your career, strive for 6 to 12 months. You'll have a lot of peace of mind.
Got it. And the rest of it, the safest thing to do, probably put it into index funds. Like how I guess we can talk about asset allocation a little bit, but I mean, just in general, population probably should drop it into index funds. Yeah,
I would say the average investor is not good at picking stocks. They're not good at tracking the market. They might not even want to track the market, right? Like it's kind of a hassle for people. It's stressful for a lot of people. It's emotional, and oftentimes they will be panic selling or panic buying depending on how they're feeling that day. And an index fund is something that will just help you set it, forget it, and then you'll just slowly you'll slowly match the market over time, which will beat the average investor, right, who is trying to pick stocks, and even beat professional hedge fund managers, right? So
for sure, Warren Buffett did that bet, right? You can feel free to tell the story.
Yeah, so Warren Buffett did a bet where, he bet a hedge fund manager over a course of 10 years that his index fund strategy, just investing in index funds, would beat the professional hedge fund manager. And he beat him by like a lot. I don't remember what it is, but his simple strategy of just like setting it and forgetting it actually beat someone who professionally does it for his job 40 to 60 hours a week, right? So,
and the S&P average, what is that? It's like 9% over a long period of time?
Typically, the S&P averages, we like to say conservatively, 8% since the inception. But actually, over the past 10 to 20 years, it's been closer to 10 or 11%. Yeah.
Okay. So, Humphrey, why does net worth explode after 100K?
Yeah, so that was the video that just came out today. And the principle is like, okay, it takes a long time to build up to $100,000, right? Let's say you save $10,000 a year and you're getting a 7% return in the market. It takes you 7.84 years of saving $10,000 a year, getting 7% return in the market to get to $100,000. But after that 100K, now your 100K is making you that 7% as well every single year. So it's compounding. It's like a snowball rolling down the hill. It's getting easier and easier. And by the time you're at the 900K level, it only takes you 1.35 years to get your next 100K. So it's like 481% faster from 900K to $1 million than it is from 0 to 100K. So what does that tell you? All the friction is at the very beginning of wealth building, right? So that's why all these people online are saying, don't buy coffee, don't buy avocado toast, like Graham. Like the reason is like they're trying to get you to your first 100K, and that first 100K, every single dollar on your way to that first 100K is so important because it's going to speed up that entire compounding process.
Got it. How do you feel? So you agree with that? Don't buy avocado toast, don't buy coffee.
I don't know if I agree like wholeheartedly with that, but I think that if you're pre 100K net worth, you should be viewing your dollars as more weighted. Like they're worth way more than just $1. Your $1 technically is worth a lot more, like $33 over the course of like 60 years, right? Or I don't know what the math is. So we'll have to fact check that. But you know what I'm saying? It's much like $1 is so much more important on your way to 100K.